YouTube, you made it. I made it. How the fuck did we end up here? Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. If you followed me from social media, if you followed me from the weekly emails that I send that showcase a lot of very thought-provoking insights, and if you followed me here from the 2 podcast episodes that we put out every single week, genuinely, we massively appreciate any support or anyone that shows interest in tuning into more of what we have to say. When I say we, you'll understand why I'm saying we as we move through this process. For anyone that's just stumbled across this channel, which is obviously a big goal of mine, to hit new audiences, to help more people. When I say we, my business partner, Jen and I, so Jen and I actually run one of my businesses, which is Built to Coach. We co-founded that together, but she also works with me inside of Built for Business, which is my fitness business coaching company that I launched in October of last year. I'm going to get into all the nitty-gritty details behind who I am, what I do, all of that sort of shit. But I thought I would just interject talking about Jen to begin with, because many people already see us as a pair that come together anyway. It's like fucking ice cream and raspberry sauce. That might be the worst example I've ever used, but right now I can't really think of anything else. Water and fish. But we launched Built to Coach in January of 2024. It's the health and fitness industry's first and leading course on brain-based behaviour, neuroscience, psychology and communication, to basically support coaches and their professional development so that they can upscale in key areas that are always overlooked when it comes to supporting their clients through a process of change, because everyone has a brain, and the way in which you think is always going to dictate everything that you do, because the way that you think as a result of multiple beliefs that you have gathered about yourself that you've built through a lifetime worth of experiences, because what you believe is how you think, and how you think is how you behave. So we launched Built to Coach to basically help coaches understand that they needed to understand what went on in the minds of their clients, especially when they were saying things like, this client just doesn't adhere, this client's a nightmare, this client's a victim, this client's a headache. There is no such thing as an uncoachable client, only people who are not ready to be coached yet. And if that's the case, it's your responsibility, because you've sold them into your coaching program before they were actually ready to receive coaching. That's not the client's problem. That's your problem. And we basically help coaches understand how you can move clients through the phases of behavior change in order to achieve long-term sustainable outcomes. Because if you're in the health and fitness industry, you'll know that 97% of people revert back to where they were at their starting point, or actually even beyond that, after going through a fat loss transformation. Only 3% of people truly sustain their results long-term. And that's because, and research shows it, people need to have a change in identity, but that only happens through changing your beliefs about yourself. And when we ask coaches, how do you change a client's belief? They'll say, you get them a killer result. That's horseshit, because I struggle with a binge eating disorder 9 years ago. And even though I was struggling with that binge eating disorder at the time, I forced myself to go through another prep for a bodybuilding show. And I always used 2 pictures, this picture on screen. I always use this picture to really get you to have a think about that answer around changing beliefs, because in both of these pictures, I believe and think the same things about myself. But in one, I'm on stage, tanned up, in great shape. The other one, I am fucking pale, not in great shape, and looking incredibly fucking unhappy. Probably because someone just finished the last piece of pizza. But that's why Built to Coach is so important. And we're actually combining Built to Coach at this moment in time with Built for Business, which helps coaches build businesses that they're fulfilled by, that feel like their dream businesses in a very simplified manner. The focus is on more than just cold outreach and posting content for posting content's sake. We truly believe in using what we understand about the brain, when helping you with your clients and built coach, and applying that same knowledge in business to understand the thinking of your target market and how basically you can build more trust with them, you can build better relationships with them, you can show up more authentically, you can build parasocial relationships with them through the effort in which you put into your platforms, and get to a point where you're attracting more of the clients that you want. It's almost like magnetic marketing. If you've ever heard of Dan Kennedy or Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson was someone who was a student of Dan Kennedy's and has obviously went on to achieve incredible things. But this is all about you being at the center of it. This is all about you showcasing who you truly are, but also having the right knowledge and the right skills to then put out to the marketplace authentically what needs to be put out there to attract more of your target audience. And I feel bad for many coaches because they have made ridiculous investments. I don't mean, well, yes, they're ridiculous in part based upon what you actually got on the inside, but they're ridiculous in the sense of the amount of money you've been asked to hand over to be told to outbound more and post more content and try and sell people in your DMs after 7 messages, which is fucking wild considering there's 6 stages to behavior change and action is stage number 4. So if you meet someone in stage 1, how the fuck are you going to move them to action over the course of 7 messages? But this is what you've not been told. You've not been told that you run the risk of closing people into your coaching business that are not ready to be coached yet, hence why you start to blame the client. But we take a different approach. We want you to work with the clients and attract more of the clients that are ready to be coached, and ultimately have processes and systems in place to redirect people who are not yet ready to a place in your ecosystem. And the next episode will be about the lead generation ecosystem because a lot of people are asking me more and more about it. But you can place those people in the ecosystem to nurture them more and move them through the processes of change to get them to a point where they are fully ready and willing to be a client of yours who is taking action on a consistent basis, even if that doesn't look linear, which no journey does, whether someone is ready or not. You will find that those people are far more open to discussion. They're far more open to feedback. They're far more transparent with you. And that is the type of business coach that I want to be. I want to use the skills that we have from the intellectual property that we own and use it as a powerful tool to actually build your business. Because as I mentioned a second ago, the lead generation ecosystem is what we basically help all of our coaches build. And they're building it and taking on more clients than they ever have without doing cold outreach, without posting content without purpose, without following up with someone for the 5th time and acting like an absolute pervert in their DMs because they're just trying to find anyone that they can to message, anyone that they can that may be interested, even slightly, to jump on a sales call. And I think that that's a very sad existence. In all honesty, because I have never built my business that way. Before launching Built for Business and accepting coaches into the community that we have, back in late October of last year, so 2024, going into November 2024, we ran a coaching company for 10 years. Well, I ran a coaching company for 10 years. I basically say we because I built it to a team of 3 other coaches and truly believe that it is we. Their business is my business because it feels like home, and I want them to feel at home with what it is that we do, and I want them to feel a part of what it is that we do. But I started off as a personal trainer on the gym floor for 6 years and then pivoted online. But our main focus and the niche that we served was anyone who wanted to transform their behaviors, anyone that wanted to think differently, anyone that wanted to go from average to genuinely unstoppable, because there's so many success stories we have of people that had gained 8-9 stone, shed that weight, and then started running 10Ks, half marathons, doing high Roxys. It wasn't just a one-off, it was consistent stories like that because we used what we were skilled in to really help these people change their lives from the inside out. And during that time that I was building my online business, we built it to 117 high-ticket clients at its very peak. But while I was doing that, I actually got offered a role in one of the world's biggest fitness mentorship programs for health and fitness coaches and healthcare professionals to build multi-6 and 7-figure businesses, which I worked at for 5 years. So I know it would be easy to watch my content and think that, oh, this guy is coming into the industry as another fucking business mentor, which I'm not. I'm a business coach. There's a very different meaning behind both. Mentoring is when someone tells you what to do based upon what's been successful for them or other clients. Teaching is educating you on new information to close the gap in your knowledge. And coaching is about guiding you to your own outcomes. So you are always in control. You are empowering yourself with the thinking to achieve what you want. So when I was working there, I obviously built a lot of skills. I built a lot of skills around understanding what it took to run a business. I wouldn't say that I really understood or was taught the mechanics of how to run a big business, but just understanding the emotional toll that it could take on you at times and the critical thinking that you had to lead with. But when many people ask me how I basically started building what we now know as the lead generation ecosystem for our clients, because they'd invested in multiple mentorships before, many of our clients are actually working with me now. The ones that are working with me now obviously previously worked as well for the mentorship that I worked at. Once I established myself to a degree, they had reached out and told me that they'd always aligned to what it is that I do, and always felt as if I was someone that really helped them on the inside of that mentorship in comparison to potentially other people, because they just aligned far more with my values and my way of doing things. And they asked, or some of them have asked the question, like, we weren't able to do this or we weren't taught this inside of the mentorship we were on. Why not? Because ultimately at the end of the day, I wasn't taught it either. Anything that I've learned and I'm now teaching my clients is pretty much self-taught. I have invested into a number of mentors in my life or consultants in my life, looking to develop new skills, because I never make an investment for someone else to do the work for me. I always make an investment to make sure that I am developing the skills and I can do things on my own. But many of them have been a bit of a letdown. Many of them haven't really delivered on the promise. I've not really learned a lot of information from them that would allow me to particularly take it and apply it in a way that would take business predictably from one level to the next. So I realised that there was a huge gap. The way that I've always kind of learned, because I wasn't particularly intellectual at school, was looking back and looking at how things were done and observing and reflecting. And I realised that there was a huge gap here. So I just started to put my instincts and my intuitions together, which are two key core components of being a coach, being a person, actually being a business owner, and figuring out how I could bring something together that filled that huge gap, that brought people more fulfillment, that allowed you to connect with the principles of building a business, but were done in a way that would allow you to take on clients in a predictable manner on a consistent basis. So after I left that role, because it no longer aligned with me, because it no longer really felt as though my morals and ethics stood in good stead there, especially because Built to Coach is such an ethical business that really aligns to my values and my morals and similar to Jen's. There was things that I just couldn't unsee any longer, that I'd probably glossed over for quite some time. And I saw that almost 5 years of my career as an investment into myself, because in the process I wasn't getting paid that much, even though I was working a shit ton for them. And I wasn't really able to kind of grow my business to the size that I could have at the same time, because of the amount of hours that I was putting in. Because if I got to 117 high ticket clients while working for someone else 16, 17 hours a week, think about what that time could have done for me to take my business to the whole kind of new level that could have been waiting on it if that time was available and unlocked. But once I knew I was leaving there, and after we'd obviously been about 9 months into Built to Coach at the time, I realised that the thing that I really wanted to pursue was the thing that my instinct and intuition had been telling me for months to go for, but I was kind of sitting, figuring out whether or not it was the right thing to do. And then I just jump in with both feet, because I finally felt not just competent, but I felt ready, more ready than I'd ever be. And I think that that's really important, because I was never going to be 100%. I was never going to feel as if like I was 100% confident in what was going to come. I knew it was going to be hard work, but and I knew actually that a lot of people that were putting their trust in me to begin with, I was going to have to build a lot of this stuff manually alongside them, and it was going to require a lot of work, a lot of graft, a lot of early mornings and late nights. And those that did put their trust in me are obviously reaping the results of it now, but I can't say thank you to them enough and be more appreciative to them that they jumped on in my time of need to a degree. But my time of need was all about proving that what I was putting together genuinely worked. But as I continue to say, was far more fulfilling and far more enjoyable for people to build. And it was a far more enjoyable business to run. That's the feedback that I'm constantly getting, alongside the fact that people feel at ease mentally because they can see an entire roadmap of what a year looks like of building their business. And it's not just about building the business, it's about building the business to facilitate the life that you want to live as well. So once I'd left that mentorship role, I'd launched this. I basically saw the first 6 months of building this business as a time in which I needed to generate results and have proof of skill. And that's exactly why we're now in our next phase of business development, where we're launching our next intake, and we're aiming for probably between 50 to 25 coaches within the next month to come on board and work with us to build the client ecosystem and run a business that is really aligned to their values and allows them to get the best out of themselves and show up better for the people in their life. And that was only made possible because I was patient, and I said to myself, right, I am not going to push this any further right now until I have showcased with the current clients that I'm working with that I can get these results. And I think a lot of coaches are always just thinking about where the next sale is going to come from. They're just thinking about where the next period of growth is going to come from. But sometimes you do have to accept that you have to take time in your business to practice and apply things that you are working on yourself to become more skilled in the practical application of what you believe to be true to generate better results for your clients. And then once you have proof of skill, you're then able to steady the ship and say, right, we can now dig our heels in the sand and push on from here. And that's where we now are. We're now 6 months down the line. We currently are working with over 30 coaches. We're obviously aiming to bring on another 20 or so in the next couple of months. And we're combining Built to Coach and Built for Business now, because we understand that coaches usually tend to see the business stuff as client acquisition, marketing, sales, so on and so forth. But the business stuff is your product. Your business stuff, as I just said, is the skill in which you have to get predictable and consistent client results. And Built to Coach does that. It's a 6-month educational course, which at the end of it, as we're going through a process just now with getting it accredited, means that when the time comes that we have the accreditation and anyone that's completed a case study and passed and showcased their competence with Built to Coach, we can go back and we can give them a qualification and certify them as Built to Coach, so that you would have a certification backing up the fact that you are competent in brain-based behavior, neuroscience, psychology, in the context in which we teach it. Because a lot of what we bring together are theories and models and things that are known in organizations, big corporations, culture, society, and put it into the context of health and fitness. Because even if you had to go and learn about these things elsewhere, you would struggle to contextualize it in the role that you do, and you would probably not be fucking interested in the slightest. And that is a kind of similar process in which we run Built for Business now as well. The education that we have set up there is so streamlined and so simple, so that people know, right, I'm aiming for 5K, this is what I need to do per month. 10K per month, this is what I need to do. 15K, this is what I need to do. 20K, this is what I need to do. And we believe in creating a simple model to allow you to scale your business to any heights that you want, focused on knowing what number in business, I mean your freedom number, what freedom number you want to achieve in business that you need to make on a monthly basis to live the life that you want to live, instead of just having more for more sake. Because I feel like coaches have just been told that they need to have more for more sake. They just need to have more money in the bank. They just have to have more clients, without actually knowing what to do with that additional income and what to do with those additional clients, and if they can even manage those clients. So the reason why I've got into this is to totally revolutionize the way in which coaching is conducted inside of the health and fitness industry, both from a coach and client perspective, i.e. coach and Gen Pop, and coach on business to other coach trying to build their business. Because that is why I refer to myself as a business coach rather than a business mentor, because so many of you have had business mentoring experiences so far that have been unsuccessful, because it's just people telling you to do more of the same stuff and not actually getting you the result, which is a bit fucking wild when you say it out loud. And this is something that I've had to work hard on. I wasn't very intellectual when I was growing up. I didn't see the value in school. And I've had to invest over £100,000 into my coach education over the past 10 years and an additional £50,000 into understanding more about business. And genuinely, this is why I'm trying to change things, because the £100,000 I invested into my skill set as a coach by far blows the £50,000 that I invested to learn about my business. Because I didn't learn anything about my business. It was just people telling you things. Whereas I want to not only help and support people to get to where they need to be in business, but teach them how to actually build a business. Because no other business really in any other industry functions in the same way as most coaches' businesses do in the industry. And that is why you're set up to fail. And that is why I've invested so heavily into myself, because I've always been so impact-led. And I've got such a clear and concise mission of how I want to impact this industry. And that is why I work my tits off to constantly produce new content, constantly produce new podcasts, write lengthy emails every single week, give people shit away for free. Because I truly believe that you have to be a human first, a coach second, business owner last. If you can lead with humanity in mind, you're going to build better relationships with people and you're going to build more trust. And when you are impact-led like that, you have the capabilities to do whatever you want, because the threshold in which you can meet allows you to do more instead of doing less and getting bored or burnt out from what you're doing, because ultimately you're not enjoying the process because you're not aligned to what you're building, because you don't actually know why you're building it. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction about myself. Obviously Jen thrown in the mix as always, and give you a little bit of an insight into Built for Business, Built to Coach, and the superhero product that we're in the process of developing and unveiling, so that it brings both businesses together and the key components of their products to deliver the best outcomes that you can imagine inside of the health and fitness industry. Knowing how to build and run a business with the structure, the systems, the infrastructure to match, the processes, the ecosystem, both client and lead generation, and knowing exactly how to build a predictable timeline and process that you can coach your clients to. That means more trust. That means that you can literally read what your clients are thinking. You can be inside their minds at all times, and you can double, triple, quadruple their retention. That is insane. So technically, I said I was going to kick this off with telling you who I am. I'm just a guy from a small town in Scotland that's trying to have a bigger impact and build something that's bigger than myself. And if you're here and you're along for the ride, then I appreciate it. You'll see me in the next video, where I will be talking you through a bit more about what the lead generation ecosystem actually is. Until then, keep well.